When Robert found me again, I was at my family estate, holding my wife and child, leisurely enjoying afternoon tea. I never expected that the once proud, arrogant, and imperious rich young lady would kneel in the rain for 3 days and nights, crying, begging for my forgiveness. However, I calmly said, "When I loved you, I could act like a dog, but once my love for you fades, you're just a dog to me." Chapter 1. Wedding Scene. Suddenly, Jessica pushed me away, turned her head, and looked at the best man not far off. Thomas stepped out of the crowd and knelt on one knee before Jessica, holding a ring in his hand. He said to Jessica, "Jessica, we once made a vow to step into the holy halls of marriage together, but now there's no chance, so I want to make up for the regret. Will you let me put the ring on your finger?" With tears in her eyes, Jessica pushed me away and ran toward Thomas. She stood in front of Thomas, nodded, and cried out, "Thomas, I'm willing. I'm willing. I'm willing." Then, she extended her hand, letting Thomas put the diamond ring on her finger. They embraced each other, gazing deeply into each other's eyes, as if they were about to kiss at any moment. Thomas looked at me deeply and said, "Robert, I won't ruin your marriage with Jessica. Please take good care of her." Jessica cried out, "Thomas, if there's an afterlife, I'll marry you even if I have to die." I smiled indifferently. "Why wait for the next life? I'll help fulfill your wish." The entire wedding venue fell into a deathly silence. Friends and family of the Taylor and Smith families, as well as business associates, were looking at me with complex expressions, some with sympathy, others with schadenfreude. This was indeed a big joke, and I was the biggest fool. My words didn't make Jessica leave Thomas's arms. They stayed in each other's embrace, still looking at me. Jessica glared at me and said, "Robert, are you even a man? I'm just making up for past regrets. I'm not refusing to marry you. What are you making such a fuss about?" Thomas also said, "Robert, as a man, you should be more magnanimous. How could you say something to hurt Jessica?" Were they turning this on me? I hadn't expected that. But I didn't want to make things too awkward, so I ignored them and said to the family and guests below, "I've said it clearly already. The wedding is canceled. And fortunately, Jessica and I haven't gotten the marriage certificate yet, or I'd be a divorcee." After that, I intended to leave. Chapter 2. At that moment, a few people suddenly rushed onto the stage. I looked and saw my parents along with Jessica Smith's parents. "Robert, is this how we raised you? Were you planning to cancel the wedding at the last minute? Where do you expect your father and I to put our faces?" My mother yelled at me angrily. My father also pointed at my nose and said, "Jessica is right. She didn't say she wouldn't marry you. What's there to make a fuss about?" I really started to doubt whether they were actually my parents. Ever since I was a child, they never believed I could accomplish anything significant. Even when I had a girlfriend, they always thought I was punching above my weight. With Jessica, sure, Jessica was beautiful and accomplished in many ways, but I wasn't lacking either. Jessica's father, with his usual high and mighty attitude, said, "Robert, for my daughter to marry you is a blessing to your family. What right do you have to cause a scene?" He then angrily added, "And besides, Jessica and Thomas have known each other since childhood and have always been close. If Thomas hadn't gone abroad, do you think you'd have had a chance? Now that you have the chance to marry Jessica, and Jessica and Thomas are just making up for past regrets, they haven't done anything really serious. Are you overreacting?" Jessica's mother added sarcastically, "Not much skill, but a big temper." I looked at them coldly, and suddenly I felt like I had no family. But I didn't think it was because I had done something wrong to lose my family. Rather, it was because they didn't deserve to be my family. At this moment, Jessica's older brother and sister-in-law also came up to the stage. Daniel pointed at me and said, "Robert, if you make my sister suffer even a little, do you believe I'll kill you? It's really not a big deal. Why are you making such a scene?" "Not a big deal." I looked at him with a half smile and confirmed again. "Daniel, you're saying what just happened wasn't a big deal. Is it a big deal?" "If it were me, I wouldn't care," he shouted. I smiled and nodded, my gaze falling on Daniel's wife, Olivia. "Olivia, I'm giving you a chance to marry me. Do you agree?" At that moment, the entire crowd gasped in shock. "What the hell are you talking about?" Daniel rushed toward me, about to hit me, but Olivia ran in front of me, tears in her eyes, and said, "Robert, are you really willing to give me this chance?" Everyone went from shock to disbelief. Then, Their expressions turned truly fascinating because no one expected such a huge spectacle. You get a divorce, and I'll marry you. I only said those few words. Olivia immediately nodded and said, Okay, I'll divorce Daniel. I want to marry you. Chapter 3. You too. Daniel's face turned ashen, and he was about to cry. Jessica rushed over and yelled at me. Robert, what are you doing? Even if you're mad at me, you don't have to ruin my brother and sister-in-law's relationship, right? Am I the one ruining it? It's Daniel who said if it were him, he wouldn't care. I looked at Jessica and said, You probably don't know, do you? Your good friend and sister-in-law. She was the one who originally pursued me. I clearly rejected her, and that's when she reluctantly chose Daniel. Jessica's eyes widened in disbelief, and she turned to look at Olivia. Olivia coldly replied, What are you looking at me for? He's right. I did like him from the start, and as long as he agrees, I'm willing to divorce and marry him at any time. Olivia, he's my man. You're my best friend. You, Olivia interrupted. Enough, Jessica. Don't you have Thomas? How many times have I covered for you when you went out with him? A few days ago, Robert had a birthday, and you stood him up. You told Robert you were going with me for my prenatal checkup, but the truth was Thomas caught a cold, and you went to take care of him, didn't you? If Olivia hadn't said that, I wouldn't have known. I looked at Jessica indifferently. Her face was filled with panic, and she dared not look me in the eye. All right, the situation is clear now. I don't think anyone will oppose canceling the wedding anymore, right? I addressed the crowd. Smith's father shouted angrily, the wedding can't be canceled, and you still need to apologize to my son. You ruined my son's relationship. Shut up, you dumb idiot. Can't you understand what I'm saying? I've made it clear already. Olivia got close to Daniel only to get closer to me. Your dumb son was just a backup, a flawed substitute for me. I scoffed. Since they didn't want to resolve things peacefully, fine, I would go all out. Wife, tell me this is all a lie. You're just messing with me to make me angry, to make me care more about you, right? Daniel suddenly knelt in front of Olivia. Olivia, clearly irritated, pushed him away and said, I'll be honest, Daniel. Do you know why I never let you touch me after we got married? Because in my heart, I've always only had Robert. You're not even worthy to be a flawed substitute. You. Before Daniel could finish his sentence, he passed out. Smith's father raised his hand as if to slap me, but Olivia slapped him hard across the face instead. You old pervert who steals underwear, get lost. Ever since I married your dumb son, my underwear's been disappearing. Do you really think I didn't know who's been stealing it? I. Smith's father's face turned pale. Smith's mother screamed, You old lecher. I'm going to divorce you. I mimicked their tone. It's not a big deal. Why are you all making such a fuss? Ha 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 ha. A beautiful young woman in the crowd covered her mouth, laughing so loudly it sounded like a goose honking. Laughter spreads, and soon the whole place was laughing. I laughed too, because this was indeed hilarious. It looked like I was the victim here. Of course, I was truly the victim, but I felt fortunate. Otherwise, being cheated on after marriage would be even more disgusting. All right, that's enough. I waved my hand and planned to walk off the stage. At this moment, Jessica suddenly grabbed my hand and said, Robert, you really don't want to marry me? I looked at her. Her eyes were filled with tears, full of reluctance. But was she sick? She didn't cherish me when we were together, and now she was reluctant to let go. There's a saying from the book, remembering to feed the milk only after the child is dead. Do you even deserve it? I shook her off and turned to leave. Jessica fell to the ground, and Thomas rushed at me. He blocked my way, pointing at me and saying, Robert, apologize to Jessica and finish the wedding, or I won't let you go. At my wedding, you gave my fiancé a wedding ring and made promises of a future life. I gave you the chance to be together, so logically, you should be discussing marriage with Jessica now. I looked at him coldly. I told you I have no intention of destroying your marriage. I'm just regretful. Thomas shouted. I looked at him for a moment and said, You have regrets, so you think it's okay to humiliate me? Do you think I, Robert, have no dignity? Well, I just let you insult me without fighting back. Robert, I didn't mean to insult you. But who doesn't have a past? Jessica crawled over and hugged my leg, saying, No matter what, when I was with you, I was pure. I've never been touched by any other man. I gave you my most precious thing. Can't you be a little magnanimous? No. I kicked her away and said, You embarrassed me in front of everyone, which shows you don't care about me. Since that's the case, let's break up as soon as possible. You dare hit Jessica? I'll kill you. Thomas punched me. I took a step back, dodging his punch, and lifted my knee to hit him in the stomach. The next moment, Thomas fell, clutching his stomach, writhing in pain like a shrimp. Thomas, are you okay? Thomas. Jessica crawled over, glaring at me and saying, how could you hit someone? Don't you know Thomas is in poor health? You're so cruel. I walked over slowly, raised my foot, and right in front of Jessica, stepped on Thomas's face, repeatedly grinding it as I said, Jessica, you better be sensible from now on. Don't come to me for trouble, or I'll show you what true cruelty is. After that, I raised my hand and slapped Jessica hard across the face, knocking her to the ground. This slap is for you not knowing your place, and it's also a warning to you. I turned and walked away. Awesome, Robert. Awesome. The woman who had laughed the loudest just now shouted. I couldn't help but smile. Riley? Not sure who had such a big heart. Chapter 4. Back at the villa, I immediately had someone pack Jessica's things. I was disgusted just looking at them. As I sat on the sofa handling some business, the door of the villa opened. I looked up and saw Jessica coming back, and she had brought Thomas with her. I raised an eyebrow. It seemed that they hadn't listened to what I said at the wedding, and Jessica's attitude had clearly changed. At the wedding, she seemed terrified of losing me, but now it was like she had won a battle. Robert, I'll give you 2 options. First, I can pretend like today never happened, and we can get married. Second, if you find it hard to get married, then you just hit both me and Thomas, and we've already gone to check for injuries. We can call the police anytime. Jessica stood in front of me looking like she had already won. Thomas also said, Robert, you're a man. You need to be magnanimous like me. I don't mind being hit by you, and nothing happened between Jessica and me. I honestly don't understand why you're jealous. I looked at him for a long while, feeling puzzled. According to logic, he should be very willing for me and Jessica to break up. But instead, he was urging me to divorce Jessica. Was he into the idea of being cuckolded, or was there some other agenda? Perhaps my silence made them think I was scared. Jessica said even more confidently, all right, Robert, I've given you an out. Don't hold on to your pride. Let's go get the marriage certificate and start planning the wedding. But before we do that, I think you should apologize to Thomas. After all, you hit him. Being insulted and still needing to apologize. I couldn't help but laugh at Jessica's words, though I was also angry. For her to say such things meant she didn't even see me as a person. Apologize, huh? I stood up, glanced at Jessica, and then walked directly toward Thomas. I waved my hand at the bodyguard, saying, turn off the cameras. One of the bodyguards nodded and immediately started operating his phone. The other ran over and handed me a pair of white gloves. I looked at Thomas and couldn't help but smile, putting on the gloves while saying, I told you, don't trouble me again, or I'll show you what cruelty really looks like. But why didn't you believe me? What do you mean? Thomas took a step back. Jessica ran over and blocked my way, saying, Robert, are you going to hit someone again? Listen carefully. I won't let you hurt Thomas. If I can't hit him, then I'll hit you. I put on the gloves and with a slap, I struck her. Her face, already swollen, became even worse from the slap. She screamed and collapsed to the ground, staring at me in disbelief. You actually hit me. I walked over to her and lifted my foot, pressing it on her face, pushing it back to the ground. Why did you think I wouldn't hit you? Is it because I've been too good to you and you think I'm just some simp? When I loved you, I would have placed you on a pedestal. But when I don't love you anymore, what are you to me? I ground my bare foot into her face, sneering. Look at the Thomas you want to protect. What's he doing right now? Jessica turned to look and saw Thomas retreating with no intention of helping her. Thomas, you're not going to help me? Jessica asked. Thomas hesitated for a moment before saying, Jessica, I'm going out to find someone to help you. Jessica didn't respond, clearly not believing him. I had no intention of wasting any more time on this foolish woman. Instead, I walked toward Thomas and said, You think you can leave this villa? What do you want to do? Thomas's voice trembled. I sneered, then waved my hand, causing him to crouch in fear. See? I just waved my hand, and you're so scared that you can't even move. What do you think you can do to fight me? I couldn't be bothered to hit him anymore and instead said to the bodyguard, Hit him for 5 minutes, then set up a scene where he's caught breaking into the house, and you guys subdue him. With that, I walked toward the villa's exit. This level of trash wasn't even worth my effort. "Robert, what do you want?" Jessica yelled at me. I glanced at her and said, "Let me say this one last time, Jessica. We're breaking up. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other." Jessica instantly started crying, all her bravado gone, replaced by panic. She shook her head, saying, "No, Robert, we're not breaking up. We're getting married. How can you suddenly want to break up? I won't accept it." But I didn't pay her any attention. If it weren't for the past feelings, I'd make sure she was utterly ruined. Chapter 5. When I was in university, Jessica was my first-year classmate. That year at the welcome party, I sang a song, and suddenly she came on stage, took my hand, leaned her head close, and started singing with me into the microphone. As we sang together, her gaze at me was so intense that I got lost in it, and I fell in love instantly. Everyone thought we should be together, and so we really did end up together. During our relationship, I gave her all the good things I had, and back then, whenever she looked at me, her eyes were also filled with love. Love, you can see it. Even now, when Jessica looks at me, her eyes are still full of love. It's just that with Thomas's return, she's no longer the same. Before, Jessica never argued with me. She always cared about my feelings. It's not that I think a woman should be completely submissive. If I made a mistake, I would also apologize. But Jessica changed too much. She loved me, but she treated me like a simp. But I didn't care. For love, I was willing to be like that. And with Thomas, she never crossed the line. They always maintained a normal relationship, and I never interfered. After all, I also had women around me, since in this business world, interactions were necessary. But today, when I saw Jessica hugging Thomas, I really felt disgusted, and that disgust made me realize that Jessica would never be the person I want to spend the rest of my life with because Thomas can influence her so easily. Even when I told her that Thomas might have other intentions, she never listened to me. If that's the case, there's no point in staying together. I left the villa and went to a tea house on the outskirts. After buying it, I rarely came because Jessica didn't like it, but I loved this place. I leaned back in a chair, continued handling some work matters. A few insignificant problems weren't going to affect my passion for work and career. Would I have any regrets? Yes, after so many years of love, suddenly separating causes withdrawal symptoms. But I've always been someone who knows when to end something. And once I feel it should be over, I don't linger. That night, no one bothered me, so I slept very well. It had been a long time since I slept so well because when Jessica was at home, she always had a bit of a childish temper, always made noise, followed her own rhythm, and woke me up in the middle of the night many times because she saw what Toulouse said that if a man loves you, you should wake him up when he's deeply asleep, and if he agrees to accompany you, then he loves you. If he doesn't love you. I don't remember the exact words, but that was the message. I really wanted to ask, who says that? I thought Jessica and I would separate like this. But the next day, when I went to the company, Jessica and Thomas prepared a new show for me. In the meeting room, I saw that almost all the board members were there, and there were also many people from the Smith family. When I started my business, I gave the Smith family a chance, gave them a small share so they could enter. Of course, I gave them very few shares. Among the Smith family members present, only Smith's father had shares. The others seemed more like they came to scold me. In the main seat of the meeting room was Jessica. Her face was still swollen and her eyes red. Clearly she had cried a lot. But when she looked at me, there was still anger in her eyes, though that anger was hidden under love, and I could see that. Smith's father, seeing me enter, slammed the table and shouted, "Robert, do you know why we're here?" I thought, why don't you ask me if I know what lies beyond the universe? I glanced at him and took out a cigar, lit it. Stop talking nonsense. If you have something to say it quickly. Don't interrupt the meeting. I ask you, how long are you going to keep this up? When are you going to marry our daughter, Jessica? Said Smith's father. We're already over. I'm not going to marry her. Not now, not in the future. I leaned against the window and said it calmly. Fine. If you don't marry Jessica, then the Smith family withdraws. Smith's father tried to threaten me. I nodded. Okay, I don't care. The shares you have are worthless. Aren't you afraid that if the Smith family withdraws, it will affect your company? Smith's father seemed surprised. Daniel also said, and don't forget, many of the mid-level employees in the company, we put them there. I can make the company stop with just one word. Thomas looked at me and said, Robert, I suggest you stop causing trouble. Better marry Jessica, or your company will have big problems. Robert, if you marry Jessica, it's because in your past life you accumulated merits. Don't be so ungrateful. And by the way, when your company was just starting, if it weren't for the Smith family's investment, would you have succeeded? You're ungrateful. Now that the company is big, you want to get rid of those who helped you? Are you really human? The Smith family members started insulting me. The board members had strange expressions. Are you all really okay in the head? When I asked you to invest, do you know how long I begged? The board members present, the capital was already covered. There were no problems in the supply chain. The Smith family's entry only diluted the interests of the other members. I let them in just to show Jessica that I valued her. In short, I was just giving them money. That is, I am the sponsor of the Smith family, and this is how a son talks to his father. I looked at the Smith family. They really seemed like idiots to me. Ha ha ha. In the crowd, I heard the familiar laugh from yesterday. I looked and saw a woman from the Smith family with her hair tied up in a bun, wearing a simple white shirt, but she had a stunning beauty. Was she from the Smith family? Anna, stop laughing, Thomas shouted. The beautiful woman frowned and said, My parents accepted the alliance with your family, but I didn't. What right do you have to order me? Oh, was Anna Thomas's fiancée? But Thomas's family isn't that powerful, and they play arranged marriages. Anna Sue, I'm a man. I hope you give me some respect. Thomas gritted his teeth. Anna made a face. You're a fake man. You talked about your power in the white group to deceive my parents and get them to accept the alliance. But in reality, you just wanted to use me to gain power. Now I understood. It seems Thomas used my name to impress and deceive people. And from what I saw, Thomas seems quite in love with Anna. That made me think. Also, the surname Sue isn't common in S City. I remember there's only one businessman named Sue who owns a chain of restaurants. But that doesn't matter now. I have to solve the problem with the Smith family. I looked at Jessica and said, We're already over. We have no relationship. Now you have two options. Leave with your family, or I'll call the guards to kick you out. Jessica stood up and, in tears, walked towards me. Robert, I know I made a mistake. I won't cause any more trouble. I won't see Thomas anymore. Actually, yesterday I don't need explanations. I don't want to hear them. It's meaningless now. I interrupted her. Daniel approached. Robert, do you think if I want, I can make those we put in the company resign? At this point, they still wanted to threaten me. They seemed to have no brains. I sighed and said, Those we put in the company, the smart ones have already approached me because they're smart and know who owns the company. Those without brains are already marginalized. Do you really think a few useless people can cause me trouble? Please, brother, this company isn't as easy as you think. Daniel didn't know what to say. He was so stupid, he didn't know how to fight. Finally, with a defeated look, he said, Then can I ask you to talk to Olivia so they don't divorce? If you leave now with your family, maybe I'll consider it. I smiled at him. Daniel suddenly seemed calm, started shouting and cursing, calling the Smith family to leave. Those who didn't want to leave were kicked out by the guards. Now, only Jessica and Thomas remained. Jessica, crying, said to me, Robert, give me one last chance. Listen to me. Get out. I slapped her. Coldly, I said, Jessica, I tell you, when I loved you, I could act like a dog, but you can't treat me like one. And when you did what you did yesterday at the wedding, my love for you disappeared. Without my love, you're just a bitch to me. Thomas ran towards me and, Robert, you dare to hit her? Do you think? Shut up. I pointed at him and suddenly laughed. That girl named Anna, I like her. From now on, I'm going to court her. Chapter 6. Thomas's face instantly turned ashen when he heard my words. Jessica even more incredulously said to me, Robert, you can't do this. You promised to love me forever. I couldn't be bothered to deal with them and had the security escort them out. However, Anna didn't leave. Instead, she sat down in a chair eating food, and it was Tom's snacks she was munching on. Tom had slightly low blood sugar, so he always carried some snacks with him. Aren't you leaving? I asked. Anna blinked her big, sparkling eyes and said, Didn't you say you were going to pursue me? I'm waiting. Come on. I rolled my eyes. Did she take my casual words seriously? Then I had her escorted out by security because the meeting was important and I couldn't let outsiders overhear. After the board meeting, a project passed, and I finally had some free time. I immediately drove back to the tea house. Not long after I arrived, the bodyguards told me someone had come to apply for the tea farmer position. I was stunned. What tea farmer? This place was called a tea house, but we didn't actually grow tea. It was just the name. The bodyguard grinned and said, "Hey, it's that lady whose laugh sounds like a goose honking. Let her in." I smiled bitterly. Then this energetic young lady dragged me around, showing me the place, asking constantly if I was really going to pursue her. I said no, just annoying Thomas a little. She didn't like that and said I was using her, claiming she had already posted about me chasing her on Weibo and Douyin. Then she showed me the posts. Only then did I realize this girl was a columnist with a huge following. She even mentioned on the short videos that if she was played, she'd call for everyone to cyberbully me. Of course, she was just joking. I was speechless. How could she take a random comment so seriously? But it was easy to get along with her, so I didn't kick her out. Anyway, the tea house was huge, and I figured she could play around. That evening, I received a call at home. My dad said that my mom suddenly collapsed and that I needed to come back immediately. When I arrived at home, the person who came to open the door was Jessica, and my mom, full of color, looked nothing like someone who had fainted. I knew Jessica had made them lie to get me to come back. "Robert, you're lucky to marry such a good girl like Jessica. Don't be ungrateful." My mom pointed at my nose and continued. "Our family comes from the countryside. Jessica's family used to be the boss, and they never looked down on us. That's a kindness." My dad also said, "Yes, if it weren't for the Smith family, where would you be today?" I sighed. One last thing, Willow and I are over. And the reason my company is what it is today is because of my own efforts, not the Smith family's. Can you stop bragging? You're just a university graduate from the countryside. Without the Smith family's help, who are you?" After my dad finished, he slapped me. Slap. My face stung, and I looked at them in disbelief. My mom also stretched out her hand and pinched my arm several times. "I'm telling you, if you don't marry Jessica, I'll die." "Sir, madam," Jessica quickly intervened. "Robert is my man, and even though you're his parents, you have no right to hurt him." Then my parents immediately bowed and said they were sorry. To be honest, when the Smith family made a fuss at the company, I didn't care. They were so stupid that they weren't even worthy of being my enemies, let alone making me angry. But my parents, who'd rather believe in the Smith family that I had helped lift up instead of believing in me, really made me furious. "Robert, apologize to Jessica right now," my dad pointed at my nose. "I'm telling you, if it weren't for Jessica, I'd beat you up today." Heh. I let out a cold laugh, my voice turning icy. "Listen up, both of you. From now on, I will only give you living expenses. Our relationship ends here. Don't ever think you can use so-called family ties to hurt me." With that, I turned and walked away. My parents were dumbfounded, unable to say anything. "Oh, by the way, I'll send someone to take you back to the countryside tomorrow." At that moment, Jessica chased after me. She hugged me tightly from behind, holding on with all her strength. "Robert, please don't treat me like this," Jessica cried, her voice shaky. I forcibly pried her hands off and said, "Get off." Chapter 7. Back at the tea house, I still couldn't calm down. My parents have always been the type to pressure and suppress me. When I was younger and did well in school, it embarrassed my uncle's family. My dad even forced me to lower my grades. He said, "What's the point of showing off your grades? It's causing trouble between family members." In high school, I taught myself to code and made a lot of money working part-time online, but my cousin from my uncle's family found out, and he claimed that the money was his and that I had stolen it from him. My parents didn't even give me a chance to explain. They immediately sided with my cousin, beat me up, and even took the money. Even when I started my own company later on, they still thought it was the Smith family who helped me. What's even more ridiculous is that the Smith family never said that, but they just assumed it. What kind of parents are these? I've supported them up until now, and I guess that's my repayment to them since they let me finish my education. As I was sighing, I heard a commotion. Then I saw Anna running toward me, covered in mud, with 2 large white geese chasing her. "Help! My suitors!" Anna shouted. I quickly jumped off the chair by the pool and asked, "What's going on?" The bodyguard chuckled. "The geese are raised by the gardener. She saw them and decided to catch them to make roasted goose, but the geese pushed her into the water. It's been a mess all afternoon." I couldn't help but laugh. It had been so long since I had laughed so freely. In the past, I wouldn't have cared if Jessica was dating someone, but to say I didn't care deep down would be a lie. That's probably why my mood had been off. "Give me a hand catching the geese and get the iron pot ready," I said with a smile. After we had a big meal of roasted goose, I was so full I didn't want to move. Anna just lay down on the lounge chair, lifting up her t-shirt and patting her soft, white belly. While patting, she suddenly sat up. "What's wrong?" I asked casually. Anna grinned. "The gatekeeper resisting the poop is about to lose control. I've got to go." With that, she took off in a flash. I couldn't help but laugh. I thought Jessica's mess would finally be out of my life. But that night, countless people arrived outside the tea house. I had no choice but to go see what was happening. There, I saw Jessica, my parents, the Smith family, and Thomas, all gathered there, and there were a lot of streamers, each one pointing their phone at us. "Friends, take a look. This is Robert from White Group, a scumbag who abandoned his fiancée," one of the streamers shouted. "Relying on his wealth, he abandoned his fiancée and stole someone else's fiancée. How disgusting," another one added. "Such a scumbag deserves to die," they all yelled. The streamers were already attacking me online. "Wow, this is so juicy," one of them commented. "Robert, you're being cyberbullied," Anna said, holding the phone up in front of me. I glanced at it and saw that her t-shirt was caught in her safety shorts, exposing more than she realized. I casually helped her pull her shirt free and glanced at the live stream. Sure enough, the comments were all insults directed at me. I decided not to look anymore. Avoiding hate comments is basic common sense. My parents were the first to charge out and start scolding me. "Robert, you ungrateful dog. Without the Smith family, you wouldn't be where you are today," my dad yelled, pointing at me. My mom chimed in. "Jessica is a rich young lady. She's willing to marry you, a poor boy? What more do you want?" The Smith family began their attack too, talking about how they had helped me and all the things they did for me. Finally, Thomas came out, tearfully saying, "Actually, Jessica and I have known each other for a long time. It was Robert who tricked Jessica into sleeping with him. I finally got over her, and now he's stolen my fiancée." He then pointed at Anna, crying, "She's my fiancée." I watched them perform their little drama and sighed, giving a few instructions to the bodyguard. Before long, Anna and I were sitting in the chairs the bodyguards brought over. The projector had been set up. I turned to the streamers and said, "I originally wanted to spare some face, but since they have no shame, don't blame me for exposing the truth." The projector flicked on and showed footage from the wedding the day before. When people saw my wedding with the bride hugging Thomas and almost kissing him, they were all stunned. Thomas gasped, "How could you have surveillance footage?" You thought you destroyed it?" I sneered. Before the wedding even ended, my bodyguards had already saved the footage. At that moment, Anna handed me her phone. I took a look and the comments had completely shifted. "Well done. These disgusting people deserve to be exposed. Did they really think we were all fools?" I just want to say, for all the people who trashed Robert earlier, in a way, we've already been fools ourselves. Chapter 8. At this moment, Jessica ran out and knelt in front of me once again. She cried as she said to me, "Robert, yesterday's wedding. It was Thomas who told me that before marriage, you needed a sense of crisis so that you'd treat me better after marriage. That's why I acted that way. Really, I didn't lie to you. I have a video to prove it." She took out her phone, opened it, and played a video. The video showed Jessica and Thomas in a cafe. Thomas said, "Jessica, I swear, I'm not trying to drive a wedge between you two, but as you can see, so many women consider Robert a catch. If you don't give him a little sense of danger, he might cheat on you so easily." Jessica, with a worried expression, replied, "No, I can't live without Robert. If I lose him, I'll die." Thomas continued, "Then do as I say. I'll propose to you and you cooperate. Even cry a little, or else it'll feel fake." Jessica shook her head and said, "No, I can't let anyone hug me. Robert will be upset. And marrying Robert is the happiest thing in my life. I can't cry. I'm too happy to cry." Thomas sighed. "It's just a hug. It won't be a big deal. Robert won't get jealous. And as for crying, just pinch your own thigh and you'll cry." Jessica thought for a long time before finally saying, "All right, but you better behave. Don't get too touchy when hugging me. I don't want Robert to misunderstand." I watched the video and even checked the timestamp. It was from the day before the wedding. To be honest, I was a bit surprised. Jessica lifted her skirt and pointed to her thigh, saying, "Robert, look, this is where I pinched myself. I really didn't betray you. I was just tricked by Thomas." "So what?" I asked. "Jessica, do you think I should forgive you? I've told you many times that Thomas has ulterior motives, but you didn't believe me. Instead, you trusted him. Such a sacred thing like marriage, and you trusted his nonsense? What does that show? It shows that you trust him more than you trust me. So, Jessica, I can't forgive you for this. And it has a switch. You turned off the switch to my love for you, and that's why the love disappeared." I waved my hand and said, "You should go. We can't go back to how things were." Tonight's live stream stirred up a huge discussion, which also gave my company some exposure. And Jessica didn't try to contact me again. While my parents were sent back to their hometown. As for the Smith family, they came to my company a few times, claiming they were going to sell their shares to a rival company. At first, I thought about letting the Smith family go, but selling their shares to a competitor crossed my bottom line. So I used some methods to obtain information about the Smith family's illegal activities and, without spending a single penny, managed to get the shares back. I had said before if they kept causing trouble, I would make them understand what cruelty really means. As for Daniel, he was dumped by Olivia, and Olivia took a lot of Daniel's money as well as several properties. Olivia even came to find me, saying that we didn't need to get married, that being lovers was fine. I kicked her out, but since I had used her before, I gave her some money. Later, Thomas was arrested for money laundering, fraud, and other crimes. After being arrested, he confessed that he had approached Jessica when he returned to the country to trick her. His plan was that after I married Jessica, he would find a way to make us divorce, and then he would steal the shares Jessica held. The scene at the wedding was his idea to stir things up so that I would give Jessica more shares. I don't know what happened to the world, but here I was, being good to Jessica, only to be called a simp, treated as if I were being humiliated, and still expected to give more. What kind of ridiculous logic is that? During that time, Jessica's attitude toward me wasn't good, but it was actually Thomas's influence. Thomas also misjudged one thing. Jessica truly loved me. And so, 3 years passed. Anna and I had been married for 3 years now. It wasn't that I smoothly transitioned. It was just that she was too aggressive. After that night, she got me drunk, then climbed into bed with me. I couldn't resist the temptation. For the next 3 months, she never left the tea house. Later, she got pregnant, so we quietly got married. Time flew by, and the past was carried away by the wind.